I think we're live. I think we are live. It looks like we are live. Let's do this. But instead of me making my own music, I am going to put some chip tunes on because that's what we do here. We listen to chip tunes. All right. Oh, that's right. I'll save a little special surprise for later. Okay. Chiptunes. There we go. Cool. Turn music down so it's not blasting in my ears. Should be good on your end. And let's do this. We have this fifth function that we've defined. 69 lines of code. Very nice. We have, let's see, a custom error object or class. We have a custom lazy promise class, which behaves like a promise, but behaves slightly different than a promise too. Yeah, and the way this works, creates a new promise with whatever function is provided, waits until the .then method is executed, and then actually instantiates the promise. Or if the promise has already been instantiated, meaning multiple, or the .then is called multiple times, then it just essentially returns that promise resolviness. I think it's what it's called. Cool. All right. Let's continue. Let's open up index.js. This is our application. This is our library. So I think we probably don't need the rest of that. I kind of like it. It's kind of puts it in the middle of the screen. Keeps it out of the way. Great. And I think the only other thing missing is my terminal. So let's pop that open. What is it? No, totes? Totes, that's what I called it. And we can do something like Npm Run Dev. And what Npm Run Dev is going to tell me is it's going to console log that lazy promise, which is fine. Where is that? The request is actually, that promise object. And we did a lot in the last one. We set up a tool to be able to abort a promise. I guess I don't need this. I don't need this. We can just close that. We're just doing everything in the terminal today. And our application runs. We see the data is 200. Okay. Which makes sense because that's an object, data assigned to data, which is 200. Okay. Cool. All right. I'm going to tweet something out really quick. Just let people know that we're here and we're live. What do we got? Let's quote tweet this bad boy. Oh shoot, I'm so bad at typing. We're live. Exclamation mark. 2 is the number of exclamation points because 1 is meh. 3 is trying too hard. Okay, now what I want to do is there's a couple things I want to add. I think I want to do this simpler HTTP verbs option so that, what do I want to do? There are a number of things that I want to do. I want to... Yeah, we're going to do this HTTP verbs. Let's see. There's a couple other things. let's do, I don't know, I guess this should be number 1. Simpler request body. Simplify request body. Simplify request body. So that I don't have to do like the song and dance with strings or JSONs or form entries. What's the other thing that I want to do? Let's see. I want to do that. I want to do this so that eventually the API that I would like to get to is something like feth.post URL, so I can get rid of that. The retry stuff we haven't got to yet, so I'm gonna ignore that. But let me do the API that I would like to do. I would like to send some data, which can be an object, and then if this should send either a URL search params or form data. Or JSON, maybe? Something like that. We'll have to determine that one. Retry, yeah, we looked at that. What else do I want? Upload and download progress would be cool. I think maybe this would be like on upload, console log, whatever. And then on download could be console log. That way we can have some sort of function that runs on the upload or download process. And then we'll do a timeout. Timeout's probably going to be pretty easy. Timeout of, I don't know, 1 second. No, 2 seconds. Something like that, right? Cool. And I think we may want to have something like, let's see, 1, 2, 3. Let's throw we'll throw here 8 is going to be, we want to also have maybe like pre-process and post-process. So when we send a request, we can like have a pre-process function that like runs automatically. And I think the last thing I want, that'll make more sense after this last one actually, which is like a factory, I don't know, HTTP factory. No, API factory. Something like that. All right. What up, Brent? Let me see. This is a good time to stop and ask, do you have any questions about this so far? Or anything that you want me to expand on? Or anything that you especially want me to focus on? Or should I just get to cracking some knuckles and tapping some keys? It's kind of funny that I have in the title of this, I have HTML. We're not doing any HTML, honestly. So here, crack them knuckles. Yeah. Okay, I think I'm going to maybe start with some of the simpler ones. I think timeout is going to be easy, particularly because I've already done it on a different project. Cheating. No, but I'd have done it, but I think, like I said before, that I don't know what I said before, actually. Oh, I don't know if I made all the right API design decisions on anything that I've done before. I don't know if I've made any right decisions on anything that I've done before, but, you know, That's life. We're gonna move forward. We need, let's see, I've got this HTTP library. I've got this XHR library. I think I also have an Ajax request library. There you go. Man, I have a lot of libraries. I also have this SWR library. What is this? Stale while revalidate, I think. Anyway. All right, which is the one that I'm used to? This is the one that I'm used to. Let's see. All right. Let's see. Do I have a timeout here? Timeout. I do. No, I don't. All right. So let's start with the timeout. We're gonna say we have a book. Blah 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 blah. We have an abort controller. We have this custom fetch error, which I think we're going to stick with. So we're going to say we have this new promise, resolve reject. So we need to take when this function is called in this init. We're going to say if there is not, no, if type of, no, what do I want? Type of? No, I want if init dot timeout does not equal null, which covers undefined cases, then actually we're just going to take this and pull this into this function. So when we instantiate this promise, we are going to call this fetch. And do I have this abort signal? I think I do. So in the event that we call this in the event that we have a timeout, we're going to say set timeout. We're going to do something and pass in that init timeout function, right? Or time. That's when it's going to time out. And then where do I resolve here, right? I think what I'm going to do is maybe this might help my brain better if I change this to async await. So we're going to say const response equals await fetch. There we go. We get rid of that block. And then once we have, let's see, it goes fetch that. And then we do all this logic. If the stuff is not okay, then we actually don't need to return here, but we're going to take, what do I want to do here? Await, and that's going to be, let's see, const data is going to equal await response.method, so we don't need that anymore. And then we append the data onto the response.data, and then we have this response. So then we can finally resolve, don't need you, with this response. That all happens in there. So we're going to say try this. Try all that nonsense. Throw that in, wrap a catch on there. And in the event that we catch an error, we're going to reject with that error. If we're actually doing that, if that's the logic, then we actually don't need to. Do we? No, we don't need to. So I actually don't need that try catch. Where am I trying? Stop trying. I think that's right. And if we are calling resolve and reject, I think I can actually even just return this response, which means I don't need resolve or reject. Could be wrong. Could be totally wrong about all this. So last thing I'm going to do here is say, last thing I want to do here is, let me try this. We're going to say const, no, we're going to say const promises equals an array with the fetch call, and then if we have a timeout, we're going to say promises dot push a new promise, where we take resolve and then reject, and then we're going to call set timeout. In the event of a set timeout, we want to have a new, oh, battery's running low. Oh yeah, whoops, gotta plug it in. Got this, that would have been bad. So what is the deal? Power mode plugged in, better battery. Where are my power options? Oh, I like this song. Okay, why is this telling me Windows slow charger? That's so weird. I have my charger plugged in perfectly fine. Whatever, I'll solve that later. Cool. So then we're gonna say in the event that we have a timeout, we're gonna create a new promise that's going to call set timeout with a function that's going to reject the parent. No, sorry, don't need that. It just needs to be a function that's going to call the parent reject of this lazy promise, and it's going to call that with a new feth error. And what do I want to do? I want this to be like, I mean, I kind of want it to give a status code of like a timeout, but I'm just going to say whatever. HTTP requests exceeded timeout limit, something like that. Cool, almost got that there. And then a new promise. Okay, I think I need to go boop boop, and one more boop. Nope, one more boop. One more boop. Shit, I'm on too many. All right, you're complaining. So that goes to that. This goes to that. That goes to that. And then I'm missing one right there. Oh, yeah, I'm missing one right there. There you go. Cool. You're complaining because we don't have this await. So we need to say promise.all, right? And then promises. So, and then this would actually be the first response that comes back. This one doesn't actually resolve to anything, so we don't have to worry about the timeout. I think that's it. Hopefully that made sense. What up, Smurda Counter? What's going on? Brent, just catching up with the chat. You're feeling something. I don't know if you're meant to be, I don't know if you're like talking to me when you say you feel that, or if you're like, I don't know, at the club dancing up on someone with all this music banging. So let's see, what do we got? Fet.post is not a function. Yeah, duh. Adoy I totally designed my new API and then like just ignored it. Okay, cool. So let's do that. Questioning if all things you do are bad choices. Oh, yeah. Okay. What do we got? App crash, waiting for file changes. Okay, that doesn't sound good. I think app crashed, but I don't have. Oh, did I break something? May have broken something. Oh, that's not good. Promise equals lazy promise. I feel like maybe putting an async in there isn't actually going to bubble up the error to the parent promise, which would then like, oh, so many things to hold in my head. I feel like I should be catching an error here and getting something. Let's go. I don't know. Why am I not getting an error? There you go. Change something. You don't like what's going on. No trace warnings to show where the warning was created. Yeah, I don't care about that. App crashed. Okay, it must be something. Must be something in the code that I wrote. Let's try it then. Let's do take all that, wrap it in some curlies, go back to the beginning. Try that. And then here at the end, we're going to catch the error, and then I guess just console log error. That's annoying. Still nothing. Still nothing. Okay. All right. Let's do this one step at a time, baby. Console log. There we go. This is what professional level debugging looks like. All right. Cool. We got here. All right. Hey, okay, that opened. That should not have opened. Let's close that. Hey, we got there again. I'm so embarrassed when I have to do this. I promise I know how to code. I just don't know how to debug. Okay, we got there. What? Oh, am I not resolving? Is that the problem? Okay, cool. So I feel like that should have worked, but okay. Is that the problem? The method also, this is not a good name for this. It should not be the response method. It should be the response body. Sure, body type. Body type. All right, cool. It was that resolve thing that was not working for me. Which the function? Okay, I guess that's fine. Cool. Yeah, it's working. Resolve. So in the event of an error, we should reject that error, I guess. So when could an error happen? Error could happen on fetch. That's fine. We do want to reject on that. Otherwise, I don't think another error. I just don't like. I don't know if I like having it in that try catch block. It feels not quite right, but that's all right. We're gonna keep going. Okay, so let's try this now. We are going to send a post request, and we are going to put a timeout of 1 millisecond. And I would have expected that to throw an error. So let's see what we've got here. We're going to say if timeout I probably don't need to do this promises.push, but let's see. Console log init.timeout. Oh, no, I did. Okay, I just wasn't at the bottom of my page. Cool. So we are getting that right. Awesome. Nailed that. Let's actually try and maybe not use that, right? So we can probably just do this. Set timeout to reject, and then this promises can probably just go back to being like this. Await that. Okay. So we've got that. It is exceeding the timeout. Exceeded timeout limit. I love that. What if we change the timeout limit to like 100 milliseconds? We still get an error. What if we change it to 1 whole second? Good. Request is happening in under a second. That's pretty nice. Okay. Timeout. Boom. Move that to nailed it. Yo, what up, Stony? Lower the music a smidge. Gosh, you got such sensitive. You don't like my music? Nah, you're right though. How do I do that? That's, oh man, that's like, it's actually up like super high. Wait, desktop audio, PC audio. Why do I have, it feels like I have two. I'm gonna turn this one off. How's that? Feels like that's about right. My music is terrible. Your attitude is terrible. How about that? Huh? You like that one? Two can play this game, Stony. It's gonna be that kind of day, huh? I only 26 minutes. I turned it off. Oh shoot. Okay, this stupid freaking. All right, if this. Oh, are you sure? Oh shoot, I did turn it off. No, are you sure I turned it off? All right, that. Then in that case, it should be back on now. At negative 45 decibels? Yeah, something like that. I don't know. Is it on now? Feels like it should be on now. I don't know how to do this stuff, guys. Look at my Twitch bio. You see all your semicolons. Look at my Twitch bio. This should say it all. Okay, this is gonna say it all right here. Where? Oh shoot, where'd it go? There it is. All right, you ready? Huh? I covered my butt here. I'm not even pointing the right way. Gosh dang it. Even just another, and now I'm scrolled up. Hold on. Okay, let's do this right. I didn't even spell it right. Gosh dang it. Anyway, let's close that. Oh no, let's not close that. Oh shoot, I closed it. Ah, okay. Oh, I know it's zoomed in to 400%. Thank you very much. Making a point. Really driving it home. Why do I do these things? Hello? Oh, there we go. It's just a lame excuse. Man, Stony, something crawled up your butt this morning. That's all right. I'm so glad to have you here. But, Stony, don't forget. Don't forget, Stony. Wait, how do I do it? No, how do I do it? Ah, can't I, like, kick someone out? Oh, Stony, there it is. Don't make me time you out. Mod. Oh, definitely not gonna mod Stony. You know, not that it's a threat or anything, but just reminding you. Got some power in these fingers, especially because we already implemented timeouts. You actually sat on my pile of unused semicolons this morning. Oh, that must have felt good. You say accidentally. I know you did it on purpose. I saw you pouring oil and soap and banana peels all around my pile of unused semicolons, just in case, finding reasons to walk by back and forth for, you know, feigning that you have something to do. Finite singularities in the house. What is going on? How'd the stream end up? Yeah, Stony. There you go. Now you're in a better mood. All right. So we've got, let's see, we just nailed the timeouts. Next thing I want to do, I think I want to, oh, this is kind of a hard one. Retries I might be able to do kind of quickly. Now, let me see. All right, this one should be it. I retry. Okay, we're gonna try to set up retries on this sucker, which means that init.retry should have a thing. So let me fix this. That's promise.resolve. This guy, init. Init or init. That should have, let's see. So this guy, if I take this out, right, I should have, which is that or undefined. So I want to add a couple of things that are going to help my life here. Like if I do this method, if I get body cache, yep, integrity keep alive mode, I want to add a couple things there. So I want to say that this can also have a couple of properties. So we said signal was one. Am I tapping onto anything else? Right now I'm tapping onto timeout. So I'm adding timeout as a property, and that's going to be a number which is optional, which means when I come here, I should be able to now see nothing. Yeah, there it is. Timeout right there at the top. Could be number or null. Great. Retry is not an option. Why am I not getting like linting errors or TypeScripty errors? Because I don't have a ts.config file. So let me get that set up real quick. GitHub.com, Austin Gill, configs, and we have a tsconfig file that I like to use. Copy that, come over here, tsconfig.json, throw that in there. We're going to strict true, allow.js, check.js, no emit, probably don't need that, skiplib check, include, don't need this guy, and I really probably just need index.js. Exclude, I'll leave that, whatever. Close that. Okay, close that. All right, so we should, yeah, here we go. Now I'm seeing these red squigglies because type method of string is not assignable to that property timeout is missing in that type. So, got that wrong. Timeout is optional and is a number. There we go. Now it's fixed. So now we can see all of those are optional and we have timeout in there. Perfect. All right. Finite. Dang. Finite's on acronym levels with Stony. I'm not even on acronym levels with Stony. Good. Time for chill. Working on your video player UI. It's coming along smooth. Depending on how many semicolons Austin needs. Stony, let's get out of here. You really need to find some new material, my man. My dude. Okay, so we've got a promise here. What are you saying? Lazy promise is not assignable to type. That's... I've given myself some nice TypeScript errors to deal with. More squigglies, that's fun. I hate it. I hate all of this. But yeah, what was I doing? The retry logic. So first things first, let's give ourselves retry optional parameter. That's going to accept, what is it? A number, like a number of times we want to retry. What did I say? Retries. Okay, so I've got the logic here already. I want retries. Where we actually check the response dot okay. If response dot is not okay, then I want to add a couple other things here. I'm totally cheating because I'm copying from something else, but that's okay. So we're going to say if the response is not okay and the config is actually should be init.retries. This should be something like that. If the init.retry is greater than 0, then we are going to run another promise. So let's see. We're not going to do that. If we don't have retries defined, we're just going to reject. And then what do I want? I basically want to call the same thing. Return, let's see this. If we want to retry my back off. We're going to set a default back off for now. So we're going to say if the response is not okay and we have in retries, then we're going to say const the back off is going to equal 300 milliseconds. So we're going to wait 300 milliseconds before we try again. And then instead of doing this, we're actually going to call this, have this function call itself. I think. Retries. Okay. That's kind of weird. I think what I'm going to do is... What do I want to do? Gosh, because this is now an async function. I could try this. I could say await new promise. New promise that takes the resolve function, calls a set timeout to execute resolve after the backoff period. So we're going to wait for that promise to resolve. Yeah. Wait, promise only refers to a type. It is being used as a value here. Ugh. TypeScript. Target. What was I saying? ES next, I think. ES next. Sure, let's try that. You still complaining? Nope. Solve that one. Booyah, TypeScript. Eat it. Still a few problems, but that's all right. Okay, so we have our timeout where we're just waiting for this 300 milliseconds to pass. And then I think what I'm going to do is return resolve, and I'm going to resolve to this essentially a recursive function that keeps calling itself. So I'm going to say resolve to feth with the input, not the URL, with the input that we're given. Input. I don't like input. I'm gonna rename this to URL because input URL. Cool. Feth the URL. Right, so we're gonna wait for that. If it's not okay, then we're gonna go back and do it again. But we're going to feth the URL, and we're going to pass in a new object that spreads the init object, but then resets the retry. Retry is going to be init.retry -1. Reduces, I mean, I guess I could do like retry minus maybe, but maybe that works. Cool. And then we're gonna try this. Console log retrying. Let's see, retry number, and then we'll do init.retry. Sure. Cool. Let's throw in a bad request so that we can have something that we're actually going to retry. That should run through several times. Feth 500 internal server error. Okay, did not work. Maybe I didn't put retry in there. Cool. We don't quite have the same API that I described before, but we're going to try 3 times. And once we retry 3 times, then we get retry 3, we get retry 2, we get retry 1, and then we get that internal server error. Booyah! 1, 2, 3. I think that's it, right? 1, 2, 3, and then cool. I think we got it. How we feeling about that? Retry. So retry is pretty good. We're up to 81 lines of code, everything included. That's fine. Types and comments and everything. I'm all right with that. Retry logic is all right. This back off, maybe we don't want this back off. And we have another issue here is what happens if we timeout here, right? If we have a timeout issue, for example, I do a retry here and then I do a timeout of 10 milliseconds. I think it's just going to time out. It's not going to do the retry. Yep, HTTP request exceeded timeout limit. So do we want to be able to include the retry logic in the timeouts? I don't think so, actually, because if I want to enforce a timeout, I don't really care that the HTTP request actually timed out. I care that the thing that I'm trying to do happens within a certain amount of time. So if we say, hey, you're allowed to retry 10 times, but I want this timeout to happen within 5 seconds, then combining those two would potentially mean that the HTTP request could take 50 seconds before we actually see the error. So I don't think that's a good idea. I think we'll have either a timeout or a retry. If you combine the two of them, whichever one happens first, right? Like if it's going to time out or it's going to retry like 4 times, we'll see. So for example, if I say this thing is allowed to retry 10 times, but it times out in... No, this thing is allowed to retry twice, but it times out in, I don't know, 20 seconds. It's going to give me the internal server error, which is good because it retried, or let's say it retries like, even like 5 times, right? Like 5 times. Cool. You got 5 times to try and get this. And you're still going to hit that internal server error. But the real question is, should this have any sort of back off logic? Let's see, timeout. All right, poll in the audience on this one. What makes more sense? Should I have, if I have retry logic, right now, every time that I have an error, it's just immediately going to try that endpoint again, which could be a problem if a service is down. If a service is down for like 5 seconds, but I tried hit it within those 5 seconds, and I say, hey, you can retry like, I don't know, 3 or 4 times, but those requests come back before that service comes back up, then I basically like blew the load of retries, right? But if I incorporate some sort of backoff, which I currently do, which is static, should I have a like a configurable backoff period, or even make it what's the word, exponential backoff, where we say, okay, take 300 milliseconds, then try again. If it doesn't work in 300 milliseconds, try 600, then try 900, then try over a second, or like multiply it by 2, right? So like 300, 600, 1200, 2400, 4800. Yeah, I don't mind that actually. I think I'm gonna do that. So we'll still have a timeout, and we'll have an incremental, or we'll have an exponential backoff. I like that better. So I'm not gonna make it quite as configurable as this, so you can give the number of counts, and then I mean, might as well though, actually. Let's do it. Let's do a timeout, and then we'll do retry up to 4 times, wait 500 milliseconds, exponential true. Sure. Okay. So we're going to say if init.retry, this is where it's going to get a little bit more kludgy, but gosh, this is where it's like when you're writing a library, it's like you want it to do everything, but you also want it to be small and fast. Thinking cap. Yeah, thinking cap, getting in my space. Do I want to have this retry thing? So retry, like let's say, um, mm, there we go. Yeah, don't like it. Ah. Okay. If not, init signal board controller. Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, that makes sense. Okay, so the retry logic is going to be okay. So retry logic is going to be blah 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 blah. I think I'm gonna put it in here. If the retry is greater than 0, we're gonna say if retry is defined, right? Because it's either going to be a number which is greater than 0, or it's going to be an object. So we're gonna say init.retry equals type of init. I'm gonna say if it's not okay, we're gonna say const retry equals init.retry, and then if we have a retry, we're gonna say here don't need you. Retry is retry -1. Cool, sounds good. That is type of any. Is that type of any? Retry, any, retry. Oh, it is any. Retry is a number or an object that is going to have, what do we want to have on it? Count, weight, and exponential. Let's do this. Burp, 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 burp. There we go. Count is a number. Weight is a number. Exponential is a boolean. Extra boo for Halloween. So retry. Yeah. Retry, if init.retry equals init.ret no type of init.retry equals number, then it's going to be I'm going to say retry defaults is going to be const retry defaults. Defaults equals, what do I want retry defaults to be? This is not going to work. This is going to work. This is going to work just fine. Okay, retry, what did we say? It was count is 0, weight is, I don't know, 300 milliseconds, maybe 500 milliseconds. 300 milliseconds is fine. And then exponential is true. Cool. We're going to take these defaults and we're going to say that retry is going to either, if it's a number, then we're going to spread in that retry defaults, and then do I want to do that? Do I want to do that? I think I don't want to do that. I think I'm just going to do that here. Const retry is going to equal something like this. We'll put the defaults in here, and we're going to say count. Wait, we're going to do retry. What am I doing with my life? Let's undo all that. Yeah. Retry defaults. So it's going to be retry defaults with the count of init.retry. So basically, we are creating a new object, or we're just going to assign it to init.retry. No, that was my thinking cap, Brent. I hope that's not hacker man mode. I'm always in hacker man mode. Thinking cap was not working. So this is one of those complicated things where it's like, from an API design, I want to be able to support both of these options, right? Where retry can be 4. Or retry can be like, you can say how much, I'm going to simplify this for myself. I'm going to keep it as this is what I want. Retries that. Yeah. This is what I want. So we're going to say retry and then retry count, and then we can say retry what do they call it? Wait. And then retry exponential. That's fine. Cool. So that simplifies things. We're going to say retry equals init.retry. We're actually going to retry equals that. Yeah. If we have it. Cool. We're going to say back off is going to be init.retry back off. Retry wait. Retry wait. Sure. We'll throw this up here. This is just going to be a number now. We're going to copy and paste that, and that should be retry wait, and then retry exponential. Sure. And that should actually be a Boolean. So now you can say, hey, I want you to retry this number of times. If we have a retry, we're going to say the back off is retry wait. We actually probably don't even need to do that. Well, no, we'll do that. Or what do we say? 500, right? Back off period is 500 milliseconds. And then we change the song. Why am I still... This needs to get off of this playlist. How do I get this off the playlist? There it is. Okay. We're going to remove from this playlist, please. Thank you. Different song. Come on, give me something good. This will work. Okay, the back off. So the back off is going to be 500 milliseconds, and then we need to change the retry. So if it's exponential, so we're always going to have an extended back off, I think. We're just either going to add or we're going to multiply. Okay, and then we're going to say const new back off is going to equal init retry exponential question mark. Then if it is, we're going to take if it is exponential, we're going to do that times 2. We're going to do the back off times 2, and otherwise we'll do the back off plus back off, which I guess is the same thing. But what I'm trying to do, does it add or... No. Yeah, that's it. It's either going to be times 2 or it's just going to remain the same. That's what I wanted. Okay. And then we're going to call this thing retry is going to have the same thing. Let's see. We're going to resolve feth init retry, reduce the number of retries, and then we are going to call the retry wait is going to be the new backoff. Something like that. Okay. Hopefully that will work. So I want to retry 5 times. I want the retry wait to be 500 milliseconds. Why not? And then we should say something like console.time label is I don't know, timer, something like that. Const t equals, right, I'll wait for that, and then t dot, no, I guess not. Console time end, something like that. I think that's how that works. Cool. So we want to make a bunch of bad requests. And what's happening here? We are retrying. We're waiting 500 milliseconds. The timeout is we're just not going to have a timeout. Did I get that? Okay, so now it's waiting a bunch of time, and then it's going. So what is it? 5 times 5. It should be 500, 1,000, 2,000, 4,000, 500, 1,000, 2,000, 4,000, 8,000. 8 plus 4, it should be like 10 seconds. I can't do the math. Should be a longer time than that, though. So let me console log retrying, and we'll do the retry the back off, and that should tell me a number of things. Okay, so it keeps the back off the same, which is not what I want. Right? Because yeah, it should be exponential, should be true. So it should be growing each time. Okay, I think I see what the problem is here. This should be something like that. Burp. Something like that. Nope, still getting 500 millisecond. Retry equals that. Okay, that makes sense. Why is my retry wait? Ah, because I'm not... No, I am reassigning it. Retry wait. Am I missing something here? Am I missing something, chat? Retry wait, right? Not a typo issue. So I'm basically saying if we need to do a retry, use the value that we are providing or 500 milliseconds. I'm basically reassigning that, or assigning it or reassigning it. Okay, that makes sense the first time around. And then I do my wait, and then I rewrite it to a new value. If retry exponential. Oh, that's because it's always false. Okay, got it. This needs to default to true. Got it. That's my fault. Retry exponential. Okay, I'm going to do this. Exponential. And we're going to say, oh, this is kind of getting a little bit convoluted. Cool. We wait for that. I'll go here, and then we'll say const exponential equals init.retry exponential is not equal null if it is defined. I feel like that's all right. So if it is defined, if it's not null, that means it's defined. Then it's going to be that value. Otherwise, it'll be true. True. Oh, gotta love those ternary operators. Okay, so exponential is not defined. I beg to differ. It is now defined. So, oh man, that took a long time. Cool. That's actually what we should be expecting. So where was that? So let's log those things, and we're basically saying 500, 1 second, 2 seconds, 4 seconds, 8 seconds. And then after 8 seconds, it's going to fail. Cool. I'm gonna call that solved. We got retries and timeouts set up now. Booyah! So let's take that out. Let's take that out. Go back to normal. Behaves just as you would expect. Fails immediately. And when it's supposed to work, works. Cool. Awesome. Where are you complaining now? Top level await expression only allowed when the module option is set to that. Yes, no, set to yes or higher. I mean, I've got it set to ES next, dude. Give me a break. You still okay, come on. Node next. ES next. Wait. Top level await only allowed when the module option is set to that. And the target option is set to that. Okay. Target is ES next. What do I have to do here? It's module. ES next. Sure. Get off my case. TypeScript. It's cool. That make more problems or fewer problems? Looks like. Annoying. Yeah. No any types. Okay, I get it. What are you saying? Lazy promise is not assignable to type. Better. Lazy promise is not a generic. You know where you are? You in the jungle, baby. You're gonna die. Won't you bring me to my knees? All right, I'm not gonna fix all these. It's fine. Object is possibly null. Which object? Which object? Response is possibly null? Or headers is possibly null? Or get is possibly null? I think it's this. Yep. There you go. Right on beat with the song too. That's great. Cool. If includes we're good. All right with these errors being there. I might. I don't get this. Like if I'm extending these, why are these type? Yeah, I guess that makes sense. Yeah, just gonna ignore it. TypeScript is the worst. Don't do TypeScript, kids. Okay, next thing's next. Let's see if we can do the this next syntax up here. So I'm gonna say I want to be able to send a post request with a URL. Timeout we kind of already covered. That we already covered. These I'm gonna leave out. And I want to be able to send this .post method. Dude, don't tell beginners not. Don't use TypeScript, kids. Tell everyone not to use TypeScript. Okay, so that's my function, feth, and I basically want to extend this where what is it? Take your words at face value. Yeah, I mean it. Don't use TypeScript. What don't you get about this, Stony? Feth dot get. I don't need to define. No, I do. Feth dot get is going to equal is just going to equal feth basically. Feth dot post is going to equal a function That is type. Why are you not working? How do I do method? Oh no, because I typed it wrong. Type. There we go. It's going to be type of feth, basically. Feth. Cool. Should be type of feth posted up before it's used. Equals a function that returns feth. I expect this to be, what is it? I don't know if that's actually going to work, but we're going to do the URL and the init, and it's going to pass URL, and then it's going to pass, actually I'm just going to go ... init, but we are going to set the method to, oh, look at that. I love that I can do this. You're not going to recommend it to me? That's annoying. Post. Right? And then what else can I do? Cool, it's got all the stuff on it. Thank you. And then we're basically just going to do the same thing here. Boop, boop, boop. Post, put, patch, delete. Get, post, put, patch, delete. I'm actually going to, well, yeah, we're going to do that. Post, and that makes it easier for me to do put, and then we'll do, oops, patch, delete. Cool. Why are you complaining? You're complaining because is missing the following properties. Type of I think I actually want this. And we're gonna do this so that you can't actually override. So you're explicitly doing a get type. Okay, so a little bit of a TypeScripty error that I should probably solve. Do I care to elaborate on why I don't like TypeScript? Because it leads to these sorts of things that's like, this is working perfectly fine. This is working as expected. I don't need to provide the typing here, is that except that it makes these things a little bit nicer. But it's annoying because now Feth does have this, let's see, like I could do Feth dot get, right, or post, which is great. God, how do I do it? All right, I'm gonna get this sorted. Let's close that. Let's do. It just leads to such blah extra stuff you have to do. So let's go TypeScript omit property, something like that. Yeah, TypeScript. Yeah. Utility types. Let's go find omit. I think that's it. Omit. That's what I want. Let's do type def is going to be that. We're going to call it. I don't know. Feth method, I guess, something like that. And we're going to take this type and pass in type of Feth Feth. I hate that I'm doing this. And then we'll omit not an array, sorry. Omit get or post or put or patch or delete, right? Something like that, isn't it? I think I'm doing that wrong. No, that should be right. Right, let's see. From to-dos, we want to omit. Yeah, that looks right to me. Oh, but I'm not using it. That's the problem. Type of feth. There you go. Kind of fixed, kind of not. URL implicit. Oh, come on. Not quite. Is that it? Still not quite. You're complaining. Omit is undefined. Yeah, that's okay. I might just... Okay, this is... It's a function that takes the same params. Okay, cool. I think I got this. Let's try this. See, Stony, this is it. You're not using TypeScript. You're using JavaScript with VS Code IntelliSense editions. It's not TypeScript, guys. The same problem applies though. Is that look at all this crap that I'm doing right now? It's the same as TypeScript. Giant pain in the butt. Okay, so this is going to be a function that takes sure, URL is that and returns the return type of Feth. I can never spell that right. Fethh. Okay, so you input something like that. No customer not assignable to Feth method. Okay. That's my first property. God, I hate this so much. Did I get that right? Oh, I think I got it right. Hey, look at that. Hey, look at that. Yeah, okay. Cool. Good enough. I just kind of hate myself only a little bit. You're right. Save your butt in the long run. Plus, that large product is a must. Do you want it to stop bitching or fix the types? Yeah. I got it fixed. That's fine. So I'm actually going to clean this up. I'm going to say, maybe do this. Git post put patch delete for const method of and we're going to say something like this. Let's try doing that. Let's do this. Did I get that right? Something like that. That the method is going to pass in the method. Okay, Feth at method dot method. Cool. Feth does not like that I just did that. And I think that also means that Feth dot get and post is no longer a thing, which is annoying. But what I can do is how do I add a property? All right, Stony, maybe you can help me here. I've got param. I've got this function definition. I want to extend. I'm just gonna now. This is fine. This is stupid. Spending too much time on stupid things. Stupid time on stupid things. There we go. It's done. Whatever. That way, this thing can go, hey, feth.post. It knows what it's doing now. And it knows what it's getting back. Cool. And if I post this data, let's actually post this data so we can make sure that we're getting something back. We're going to do the body is going to be whatever, something like that. And then don't need this timer. This timer thing never worked. So that was nice. But we send that data, we get response.ok. We should not get data. Oh, no, we should. That's fine. We need to send data, send a post request. So we should get like a number 1 back, or yeah, ID 101. Perfect. We are sending data as a post request. Fetch.post URL. Awesome. Let's simplify HTTP verbs. Done. Nailed it. Throw that down there. Now, oh, we also got retries. Boom. Okay. Upload, download, pre-process, API factory. Those are all the big boys. So, Stony asking me if I want to stop bitching about TypeScript complaining is Stony admitting that I am using TypeScript. Just saying. Just saying. Okay, we're going to simplify the request body. So let's see. What I want to do here is essentially be able to send this data and be able to send it like this. I don't know, A1, right? Fetch cannot do this because there you go. A number is not assignable to type. Body init, null or undefined. So it basically needs to be, yeah, there you go. A readable stream, a blob, an array buffer view, an array buffer, a form data, or a URL search params. Now, generally, I will use a URL search params and do something like this. Is new URL search params. This is also complaining. Number is not assignable to. Really? I don't think that's ever been an issue. But yeah, more TypeScript, more things that. Do you want to stop bitching or fix the types? Read it again. Do you want me to stop it? Do you want it to stop bitching or fix the types? Do you want it to stop bitching or fix the types? How many times am I rereading this? Or you want me to read it again? It again. It again. By it, you mean TypeScript. You want me to read TypeScript again? TypeScript, TypeScript, TypeScript. By the way, TypeScript has a capital S, Stoney. You should know that. You're such a TypeScript fanboy. I got some spicy spice to give back today. Sorry, you got me started. Yeah, I'm not to point fingers, but you kind of started with the whole semicolon thing, and we're here. You see? This is what you do to me, Stoney. Okay, what I want to do, like, this is fine. I don't mind doing this. Generally, if you want to send a post request as an object, I would recommend this because this is what the browser defaults to. But we're going to make it a little bit better. So we're going to make it so that you can actually send data like this. Only slightly better, not crazy, whatever. Who cares, right? Small quality of life improvement. What are we up to? 107 lines of code. Lots of comments, though. Not too bad. I don't think that's too bad. Right, so we need to add another thing here. We're going to say timeout We're going to say this can have a thing called data. And data can be a string or an object. Right? It's also optional. And we need to do something like this. Also, let's do this. Object to query converter. Maybe? Maybe. We'll see if we get to that one. At least your data fetching is 100% typed and working. Mine is 100% typed and working. I mean, I don't know what sort of point you're trying to make there, but mine actually is that it works, right? Like I come down here and it tells me, hey, what can go in here? All of those things, read, where is it? Oh shoot, we're missing one thing. We are missing down here. Type of fetch. This should not be type of fetch. This should be feth. There we go. So now if I come here, I can see that we've got, we've got retries, we've got timeouts. So, yeah. Dude, it works. I missed one little thing. Whatever. It's actually a pretty good little tool I've got here. Okay, so I want to be able to send this data, right? What am I saying? Feth can take this data object. Now we actually need to do something with it, right? So we're going to say, where is my fetch? There's my fetch. There's my init. And I need to say, I need to modify the init here. So we're going to say if init.data. Yeah. And I'm going to say is not null, or does not equal null. So it can't be null or undefined. It can be an empty string. Then what we want to do is say, what do I want this to do? I want if okay, if we don't have a body defined, meaning whoever is using this, basically if we define both request.body and request.data, we want to just use the body. So if we have a body, we're going to assume that the user knows what they're doing. So if we don't have a body defined and the init.method sorry, not init.method. If post patch or put, these are the only ones that can actually have a body in them. If that includes the init method dot to uppercase. Too many? Not too many. Okay, sure. That's kind of gross, but whatever. If it includes that, then we're going to say that the init dot body equals new URL search params with the init dot data. Cool. That way we can basically say that we can essentially send data like this. Kind of a nicer way to send data. Prevents us from having to do this whole URL search param song and dance. I think that works for me. We could probably also do something if it's JSON, right? So we've got data. And then what if I wanted to send, what was that? You know, you search params. Yeah, data's fine. We could do the same if it's JSON, right? We could say A is 1. Then we could do something like, we could say, cool, you got some JSON? If init.json if init.json, then we'll copy this, move that up there, and we're going to say json.stringify init.json, and then we also want to modify the headers. So init.headers let's do this. Burp, burp. Init. Init is always going to be defined as something. We're going to say something like init.headers equals init.headers, or I don't know, new headers. Empty headers, that's fine. Headers Okay, so we're going to have init headers defined no matter what. And then we'll say if JSON, then we're going to take these headers and we're going to what is this? What does it think headers are? Headers are requesting it headers. Okay. Entries for each keys values. What? I should be able to set some now. Yeah, that's what I thought. init.headers.set. Why? Whoop. So headers init. Interesting. Okay, well, we just won't use header objects then. That's fine. Empty string, or empty object. Cool. And then we are going to set the content type to application JSON. Cool. What are you complaining about now? Possibly undefined. What is element implicitly has types annually because the expression content type can't be used to index type headers init. Content type does not exist on type headers init. I honestly don't know what that's complaining about. I don't know what a headers init object is. But I do think that that should work. Essentially, if you try to send JSON, it will send a request as a JSON string, but it will set the application or the content type to application JSON. Cool. This is looking pretty good still. Not too much going on. I feel pretty happy about it. And we're still sending data. I feel like I kind of want to test this out in the browser and see what we've got. Okay, whoops, export default. Oops. All right, so we've got that thing in the browser now. Let's zoom this in so we can see, and let me grab this URL. I'm going to say, oh, man, yeah, it's fine. Fet our URL. And I want this to actually fet.post. And I need to send some data as an object. We're going to say A1, whatever. And we're going to see network request. Where's my network request? Console. What was that? I should not have been recording. Hello? Yeah, that's not going to be defined. Okay. Where's my... Ah, that's right. Because it's a lazy thing, then console log. There you go. It has to actually call it. Okay. Close that. There's my fetch request or feth request. And I want to explore my request headers. Request is that. Method is post. Payload is form data. That should not have been form data. I don't think. I think that's all right though. I don't think it actually is. And then we want to try with JSON. We want to send JSON. So we're going to check the network request there. And we see response failed, headers. I don't know why. Okay. 201 status code. Request. Oh, here we go. Request headers. Method is post. Where's my content type? Content type, application JSON. And for the previous one, method was post. Content type was www form URL encoded, which is actually the default in the browser. So that's good. So what's the difference between, oh, here I can see the payload, and for JSON, you don't get a payload. Okay, that's interesting. But yeah, that's what I wanted to show off basically, is we are getting the correct content type for JSON and otherwise sending URL encoded data. Perfect. All right, where are we at, chat? Brent, I feel like you're pretty solid. How am I doing? Let me know. What do we got? We've got, let's see, upload progress. I don't have any of these. Object to query converter. So this is going to be one of those, if we wanted to support something where we're like, cool, send the body, cool, send the data, cool, send the JSON, or we could do something like send with this query as an object where we have like, I don't know, is that, right? And then what this would do is convert this into URL plus whatever, URL question mark a equals 1. So this is a question I would pose to y'all, is how frequently, or how would you prefer being able to like just send a query data as an object? Or, you know, you could just do it yourself and be like, cool, there's my URL, and I'm going to like plus string question mark a equals 1. Oh, dang, that's what it took to get a follow out of y'all. Thanks, Tabs Rock. Tabs Rock. Is that like tabs as opposed to spaces rock? It's a pretty good name, though, gotta say. Tabs Rock. So yeah, anyone feel like talking to me? No one? Just gonna let me do my own thing? That's how I get in trouble, y'all. Leaving me to my own devices. All right, no one's saying anything. I'm gonna go ahead and just forget this whole query thing. Tabs do rock. Tabs do rock. I was recently converted to spaces, though, and I'm not going to try and say anything for you or try and like start any flame war or anything. But the reason why I have transitioned from tabs to spaces is because apparently it is better. The only argument that I have seen that actually carries any sort of real world application is that when you use spaces, they are better detected for Braille users. Now, that would kind of require that a Braille person, a person that's using some sort of screen reader that uses Braille, would also be looking at my code, which I think is probably not most people. But I also think it doesn't cost me anything to just change my editor settings from using tabs to using spaces. So yeah, I don't know. Tabs rock. Maybe you have some thoughts on that. You know, not starting to fight, but maybe you have reasons why you prefer tabs. So yeah, let me know. Curious, always curious to come back to pedantic opinions that probably don't matter at the end of the day, except in the case of Braille users looking at my code. Okay, next thing I want to do is I want to do this pre-process, post-process thing. So what I want this to do is I want to be able to provide a function called I don't know, like before send or like modify request, right? And what modify request is going to do look something like this. It's going to be something I can provide here, and it's going to be provided with that init object. And then I can basically modify it. That is the best reason to give yourself that username. It's great. Just like not even gonna pose the question, just gonna show up and piss people off. It's great. I don't think you're pissing people off, but I think it's funny that you're just like, yeah, whatever, stir the pot, let's do it. Yeah, so I basically want to be able to take this init function and be able to modify it so I can say that this init is going to be the same init function that I have here, right? But I want to be able to modify it before the request goes out. Now, this is going to sound kind of silly right now, but it'll make sense in a moment. And this is basically the same logic that something like Axios has, I think. Axios modify request. Or transform request is what they have, what they call it. So you get the data and the headers, and you can return the data. Let's see, what do you get? This is what request looks like in Axios. You can define the URL, you can define the method. We don't need to do that. We already do that. We don't need to do that. Base URL, I don't want to do. Transform request, headers, params, data, timeout with credentials. That's dumb because that's part of the headers anyway. Or that's part of like the fetch stuff anyway. Auth, that's kind of a cool one to add. I'm not sure if I'm going to do it. Response type, don't need that. Response encoding. Ooh, XSRF cookie name. That's kind of cool. On upload progress, on download progress. Max redirect, socket. Okay, bunch of interesting stuff. Not all of it is entirely useful, but this modify or transform request. We use modify because it's shorter. Essentially what I want is a function that allows me to manipulate the request object before it goes out. And I don't think I'm going to pass the URL or make the URL available. I think I'm just going to make this second parameter, this init object, available. The reason why I want to modify that is going to make sense in a moment, but we can basically say something like, we'll do this. We'll say init.method equals get. So it's always going to do a get request. And then we will return init. Cool. So what I want is, before I actually make the get or the fetch request here, I want to say if init.modify request, and we need to turn that into, or pass that up here. We're going to say modify request is a function that accepts it's a function that accepts just the fetch parameters. So not all of No, it's going to accept all of them. Yeah, it's going to accept all of them. So we're going to take this. We're going to give it this init, which is a type of this, but this needs to be feth. And it's going to return essentially the same thing. Cool. So now modify request, yeah, looks good, is, then we're going to say init equals init.modify request init. And we want to mark that as optional as well. So why are we doing this? So that this can actually modify the information. Init is still, yeah, the type of object that we expect it to be. Why do I do this? I don't know, because I'm bored. No, this will make sense in a moment. Type error request with get head method cannot have a body. So that actually is a signal that we have it correct. Because essentially what we've done is we've provided a body for a post request here. And then we've modified that request into a GET request. Now, where does this make sense? It doesn't make a lot of sense in Node, but this makes sense if we wanted to do something like, yo, orchid eater. Thanks for following. I owe you some orchids to eat. I'll watch you eat some orchids. But this makes more sense if we had to do like modify the request headers, right? So we could say init.headers. And why is I need to figure out what the hell is going on here. Fetch init headers. Why are they different? Yeah, annoying. Request init headers is a type of headers init. Once again, Stony, here I am wasting a bunch of time. Headers init. So I don't understand. Maybe someone on the stream can explain this to me. Headers init is, can I not set headers once they're already set? No, I can. Right? So I have headers init. I can do for each, I can do entries for each, keys, all this stuff. That's it though. But if I create new headers, I also have append, delete, get, has, keys, set, values. Are these not the same thing? I mean, they're not officially as far as their type signature is concerned, but a headers object, an object literal. All right, let me try this. What would I want to do? Anyway, what I would basically want to do is set. You don't use fetch. Okay, that's fine. Let's go HTTP authorization header. Looks something like this, right? Where's bearer? B-E-A-R-E-R. HTTP. HTTP. What? HTTP auth bearer token. I thought that was sent usually in the authorization header. Yeah. Okay, cool. Not that this matters a whole lot, but if we wanted to add a header that looks like this, right? You could do something where before this request, number of ways we could do this. You could say that my headers is this object, And why is it telling me this stuff? That's so weird. Am I doing something weird? Fetch. Headers. Nope. Same function signature. That's just freaking weird. Okay, but we can say that the authorization header is sure, something like this. Burp, burp. There you go. We could do that, or we could modify the request and say that the init headers dot authorization init. Why are you like that? Why you gotta be like that? Equals same thing, right? You're complaining. Does not exist on headers init. Modify request. That's definitely going to be defined. Annoying. Very annoying. Very annoying. This would work though. So, and that's always, I think that's always going to be defined because we set it here. So yeah, that's always going to be defined. You don't think authorization is defined? So it's not, but headers are defined. So what we're essentially doing is when we do this, when we instantiate this fetch request, we are going to define the headers by default. Same with this init. So those are always going to be defined. They may be empty, but what we're doing is saying, hey, before you go ahead and send this request, I want to inject this authorization header, right? And we can do any sort of manipulation here. Now, it doesn't pre-exist on header. No, it does not. But it's weird that it's complaining that I can't add it. Maybe I'll try this, right? Maybe I can do like init.headers.set, which is weird. It's not, no, that's not what I wanted. That's not what I asked for. Set authorization, right? And we could do this like bearer, token, whatever, token 123, right? Technically set should be a method on headers, but it's not. Yeah, that's TS complaining. Yeah, I know. That's why it's complaining. It's weird to me, though, that this should technically be a headers object, but it's not. But if we do this headers.set, works just fine. Or headers, if we set it this way, works fine. So weird. That seems to be related to fetch. I'm not going to look into that today. Yeah. Well, the oh man, you are gonna love Stony. Fetch is defining that type, so we are setting this init object, which is inheriting from the fetch, the second parameter of the fetch function. So the fetch function takes this optional init object, which is a request init, which we are using here. We're extending that request init to add a couple of things that we want to modify. Or however, or whatever you want to say, that modify request, that this init object should still extend that request init. So request init should have a headers property on it, which it does. And that headers property is coming from, or like init is coming from the second parameter of fetch. Headers is coming off of that request init type definition. I'm assuming that it's a headers init type. I can't do anything about that. That's like built into the platform, or maybe built into Node, or maybe you can't, like it's a custom headers object that you're not allowed to modify. So it's not actually like, it's not headers. It's like this custom headers. I don't know. I'm not going to worry about it. But that's essentially why I got to pay attention that it's headers, init, or undefined. Yeah. It's not, though. This is, I don't know. This is technically going to always be defined because headers, init here. I mean, technically it's okay, fine. I can like do this, right? And say type is going to be headers init dot headers. What was it? I think headers init, no? I don't know. It's not going to be undefined though, because here we're setting it to a default value. This is, you know, I'm no TypeScript guru, I don't think I want to be. But init will always be defined, should always be defined. We're passing it here, or init is defined here by default. So there's no way that it's going to be undefined. And init.headers, there's no way that it's going to be undefined because we're doing a fallback object. So by the time it gets here, init is defined and headers is defined, and we're just appending this authorization. Oh, JavaScript is fun. TypeScript is fun. It's all right. It's working. This is where I think that we get to a point in the conversation where we go, why the hell do I need to modify this init object if I'm literally passing it in here, right? And the reason is that, well, we got this pre-process. I'm gonna add one, and then we'll see why. So modify request, modify response, and then we're gonna take, the response object, and I'm just gonna like, I don't know, console log here so I know it works. Console.log response, and then we'll return the response. And that actually would probably be kind of a cool one here too, instead of trying to modify it and breaking stuff. This will make sense in a moment. Modify response is not defined here. So we've got modify request, modify response. This is going to take a response object, which is the type of, the return type from feth. And this expects you to return, really this is going to return any. Douglas 10s? Douglas 10s? Douglas 10s? I don't know. Thanks for the follow. This is going to be modify response. And we're going to come down here. And when we actually resolve this response, we modify it. And then here we kind of have the same logic where we say, if we have this, yes. I don't know if that yes was to any of the ways that I said your name, but I'm assuming one of them. So if we have modify response, init is always going to be defined though. That's kind of the annoying thing. Yeah, this is also complaining, isn't it? Possibly undefined. It's not. Is this possibly undefined? Because I said it as, well, it is optional, but is this possibly undefined? I literally said it here. If it's undefined, it will be defined. Anyway, so if we have this modify response, we are going to change the response to this modify response. It's a constant. Where are we defining it? Here we go. Okay, so we redefine it and then we resolve with that. So now, there we go. I've got my functions are working. We have the modifying the request object here. We've got the modifying of the response object here. And then we've got the data that we get back. So why do I want those? Well, because there's one more thing that I think the Axios library does really well. And that is to say, yes, I may want to set, like, call this explicitly every time. But what I would really like to do is be able to, let me do this. Process, boom, we've got that done. Cool, let's get that out of the way. I want to work on this API factory. I think this guy, we're maybe gonna, I think we're gonna drop it. Okay, so the API factory is what I want to work on next, and you notice that I keep on pushing the upload and download progress stuff to the end because that stuff sucks. API factory is basically, I want to be able to say something like const API equals feth.create, and I want this to take an init object, or maybe it takes a, yeah, just an init object that can have a base URL and can have a modify request and modify response. And in this way, in doing this, then instead of having to explicitly assign all of these things here, I mean, body, data, JSON, all of these I'm probably going to make on a per request basis, but there's certain things that I want to do, like, example, add auth header to every request, right? Actually, or I want to, example, add, I don't know, response/error handling for every request. Right, so this is one of the situations where I can define my own kind of API factory that says, hey, when I create this, I'm going to put some default behavior for every single request that this API is going to make. And then I can use, instead of feth, I can do like api.post to, instead of like a URL, let's see, let's take the URL here. Sorry, I'm going to say something like this. Base URL is this. And then I want to post to like, what is it? Yeah. Slash posts, like that. Okay. Does that make sense? Like that sort of design decision. So then in my application, I can just pass around this API thing and just make this as simple as possible. So I don't have to define these headers. Maybe I'm going to define my data or something like that. Or like, we'll say, burp, 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 burp. We'll do like this JSON. And then, yeah. So then my API looks like this. But under the hood, it's kind of like doing some magic to make sure that I'm sending, what do I want? Let me see, fetch with, or credentials, right? Credentials. Burp, burp, burp. Okay. Await fetch. So we've got yeah, something like this. So I can do like some default values, cache or cores, whatever, and then we'll do like include. There we go. Now I don't have to like explicitly add these to every single API request. Anyone chiming in on this? Makes sense? Anyone? Yes, no? All right. Well, I'm going to keep going. Okay, so now we get into a kind of I don't know if it is like such a weird situation. So I'm going to add a new method here that's going to be called fet.create equals a function that takes I don't know, default init and returns I had this What is it? I mean, I don't. It's a function that returns this. This function returns an object. I don't know if I have this right. I want to say it's a function that returns like essentially a curried function that then takes URL init and returns fetch with that URL and then an object that passes in the default init or like, yeah, that's fine. And then that init, so essentially like clones it, something like that. Maybe. So then if I call that, that is not right. No, it should have get post put patch delete. All right, let me see. I need to. Okay. think I got it. This is going to get a little bit convoluted. So let's do const factory is going to equal a function called create that takes the defaults, which are just an empty object. Nope. There you go. And then we define the feth code inside of this factory. And then we say feth.create is going to equal, did I name this thing? No, create. It's going to equal create. And then this factory is going to return fet, and then we're going to close that off. And then this is actually going to return the factory. I think that might be it. And then we need to do something with the defaults. Okay, so then init here, we need to actually pass those default values into init. So we're going to say init equals object dot assign, well, init equals dot 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 defaults. So we kind of clone it, provide the defaults. Init can override any of those defaults. Okay, so now API is any, which makes sense because it returns this thing. Function feth API should return feth. Dot create does not exist. Okay, that makes sense because I haven't defined it. And create should be down here. Feth.create. It is defined in there, isn't it? Well, let me see what I've got here. So we've got that. If I hit save, what do we got? We've got a lot of errors. Cool. Feth.create is not a function. I see what I did wrong. This should be a, yeah, because it's a function. Shouldn't be a function. Should be an immediately invoked function execution or an IFI. There you go. Okay, API is now defined, which is great. API.post is defined. And parse URL from post. That makes sense. Cool. invalid URL. That kind of makes sense, except that we have not provided the base URL. So let's go up here, and we just need to modify the URL now. URL equals, and it should be like I think it's something like this. If we have the defaults dot base URL, then we're going to say if defaults dot base URL, then we're going to say URL equals what is it? New URL with the URL and the defaults dot base URL. Okay, so what's going to happen here is if we provide the base URL, we essentially want this to be prefixed before any of that. So let's see if I even got it right. Oh, it's working. It's working, baby. It's working. Yeah, so essentially we want to create an API that like just always hits that same URL. If it's provided. And then what happens if I want to hit like a custom URL, right? That's not going to work because it's, not found. But I can go / posts. In theory, we should get the same response that we got before, and we did. Cool. So we can hit a custom URL in like a nice, easier format, or we can hit like a predefined URL API endpoint with like some appended whatever at the end, or we can do completely custom. Cool. And we don't have our modify request and response working though, right? Modify request, modify response. The whole reason why we wanted this create thing was for that. So what's the problem there? Defaults. Let me see. Console log init. Where are we here at this point? What am I sending? I do have modify request and modify response, and I have cores and I have credentials include. So that's right, because I'm being silly. We want to modify the request, every single request. We can console log in whatever, do stuff, right? And then do stuff in the back end and on the, when we get it back. Cool. So then we send the request, or we do the stuff before it goes. We send the fetch request, which is why we're getting this error. We get stuff with the response, and then we log the response data here at the end after we've modified it. Like I could actually even just return like return data of poop, right? And what's going to happen there? We're going to log data poop. Pretty cool. For every single request, that's what we're going to do. Ooh, doggy, that was good. I'm going to say I nailed that API factory, which means there's only one thing left, two things left, which I don't want to do. Caprizi, what's going on? Render 1010, render 1010, render 1010. You tell me, which one is it? Caprizi, thank you for having an easy name to chat with. That's unfair to render 1010. It's unfair to 1010. Render 1010. Render 1010 is, you know, I'm sorry. It's render 1010 is just as easy. Definitely. And I am not fooling anyone. Okay. I am going to take a bathroom break, so I'll be back in just a moment. Enjoy the chiptunes. And actually, before I do that, there is one surprise that I wanted to set up on this stream, and that is webcam plus dog bed. Render is fine. 1010 is just something you needed in your name because of Twitch. Caprizi with the follow, coming in strong. Look at that. But yeah, surprise, surprise. I am going to set up. What am I going to call it? Nuggovision. So my dog Nugget. I don't want to say his name because he's sleeping. It's going to wake him up. But I'm going to try and set up my desk. Oh, come on. There we go. Cool. Little desk cam there. That should work all right. And then we're going to plug this sucker in. Okay. And everything started dying. No, everything's working. Okay. All right, let's go. OBS. Let's see if we can do a new scene. How's Little Nugget? You're about to find out. New scene. We're going to call this, I don't know. Just Logitech. Just Logitech. Okay. Okay. Okay, my voice should be back. I haven't set this up, so we're doing this live. Look at that little guy. Okay, you lay down. Good job. It is a really small camera. Let me give him a treat really quick because he's doing really well. Oh, come on. Come on. There you go. Look at that. Look at you. You're a star. He's so cute. Okay, we've got the Nugget cam. We need to add, what is it? Audio output. Yeah, add existing. And I think it's, I don't know, desktop? Cool. Is that working? Can you all hear the music back? Hopefully. And we'll make that a little bit bigger. Man, that is not a big enough camera. Cute. Music never stopped. Oh, really? Well, there you go. There's the Nugget cam. I will be back in just a moment. All right, we're back. Now that I got that set up, need to do, where is it? Video capture device. Let's throw Nugget in down here, right? Where's he gonna go? Oh, that's pretty good. That's all right. Whoop. I'm all right with that. Yeah, this is perfect, because then when I look down at him, it looks like I'm looking down at him. That's great. Yeah, good boy. Hey, this is pretty cool, right? Render. So what are you actually doing in JS? So you weren't around. Man, this has been like 2 streams worth. So, and we are, where are we? We're like, we're getting on in this stream. 2.5 hours in. So like, yeah, kind of a lot. What am I doing in JavaScript? I am making a library called Feth, because I mistyped it on Twitter, and now someone made me keep that name. Oh, Stony, you know what? Stony, you're getting a timeout. That's it. You're getting a timeout. Here we go. Here we go. Here we go. You ready? How long does this actually last? Oh, shoot. 10 minutes. Ooh. Okay. Can I ban? All right. Untimeout. There you go. Just so you know that I will do it. Okay. Yeah. So who was talking to me? Render 1010. Basically, I have not a lot of issues with fetch, but ways that we can improve it. So we did a bunch of things here where, these are all the things that we've completed so far. We've added support to be able to abort it. So I can say, there's my request. I'm actually going to abort it right away. So right, there we go. We can see that the request goes out. The operation was aborted. We can see, what else? Oh, okay. Well, let's back it up then. Where are we along in our web dev journey? You are coding in JavaScript. You have never heard of HTML. Give me some backstory there, and I'll try and fill in the gaps. I'm also gonna fill in the glass of water. Okay, so we have no experience with web development and no experience with JavaScript. That is A-okay. You should at least have some experience with HTTP requests, ideally. Tell me yes or no if you do, and hopefully we can work with that. HTTP requests would be great. You do indeed. Awesome. So HTTP, it's a network protocol. It's a method of computers to be able to talk to each other, right? But of course you already know that. But there's a number of ways that a computer can make a request to another computer via HTTP. Now, when you do that in a web development perspective, you're actually using an application called a browser that we all use to make the underlying HTTP request for us. So when we submit a URL into a browser's search box, it's actually going to make that HTTP request for us. And, bear with me if I'm like being a little too explicit, but I'm going to go ahead and do that because I don't know. I think it helps me reiterate the knowledge that I have. But if you open up your dev tools, you can see the network tabs, and you can, anytime you reload a page, you are making a type of request. And you can explore that in the network tab. And you can see the request URL tells us that. The request method is a get method. And blah, 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 all of this stuff. And you can see the data or the response that comes back. Now, of course, considering you already know what an HTTP request, an HTTP request is, you probably already know some of this stuff. Now, in JavaScript, which I have access to run JavaScript in the console here in my DevTools, we have a built-in API called fetch. So we'll do this. So I can do fetch. We saw that if I reload the browser page, we get this network request here, which is this, it's a GET request to this route called post. So GET request to this URL at this domain /posts, right? I can go to the console here, and I can instantiate this fetch API. That's going to make another API request that looks basically the same because they're both GET requests. Is console only in JS? That is a good question. I don't know if the console keyword is only in JS, but I know that is, I actually don't, okay. This is where things get a little weird with JavaScript because you have JavaScript, which is the programming language, and then you also have the environments that run JavaScript. And there are certain APIs that are made available by the environment that are not part of the actual programming language. I don't think console is actually part of the programming language, but it is in every JavaScript environment. It's universally available as a top-level API that you can tap into, and is essentially a way for the system to output or print to the console. So in the browser, you're writing to the browser console. In Node or like a server-side JavaScript environment, inside of Node, you can type console.log yo, right? And that's going to print out to the console or the terminal or something like that. I don't know. I'm not a computer science expert, so I can only go so far into explaining some of this stuff. Good for debugging, yeah. And there's also other tools for debugging that are a lot more, I don't want to say professional, but a lot more comprehensive, we'll say. I just never got around to actually learning how to use the debugger statements very well, so console log just prints out whatever value it is. Anyway, getting back to fetch. Fetch is one of those APIs that isn't actually part of the JavaScript language, but is an API that is made available to JavaScript in the environment that's running JavaScript. So if you're working strictly in a programming environment, you may not actually have access to fetch. And for a long time, server-side languages like Node did not have fetch available as part of the global spaced API. But now it does, and so does the browser. And it's essentially a way to have the program that's running your JavaScript execute an HTTP request. So far, so good. Anyone have questions? Anyone have corrections? Anyone just annoyed by hearing me talk? Or anyone love the sweet, sultry sound of my voice and want me to keep talking? Throw it in the chat. Render, I know I got you. This is really advanced. Thanks. I guess it depends, because like I said, I don't have a computer science background, so a lot of this stuff to me is very basic knowledge. that is also gaps in my knowledge. So it feels advanced to me, being able to explain it at this amount of detail, but it's also like to some people that have taken CS 101, 102 courses, it's like really rudimentary. But then in the web development space, it all depends on how much time you've spent in what sort of context. Time in the chair, But HTTP requests. Fetch is the global API that we have available as JavaScript developers to be able to make HTTP requests from our applications, which means I can be on a different website. Let's see. I can be on a different website and I can make an HTTP request to another website, right? Like I made an HTTP request to this URL. This URL, the browser looked up the DNS record for this URL, found where the IP address is for that machine, and then eventually that machine responded with the network response for that GET request. So we can see that we still get the same response because it's an HTTP request that went to a different machine, brought back that data, regardless whatever website we're on. Yeah, 110% self-teached. Yeah, same here. And I gotta tell you, it's good stuff. It takes a lot. You gotta stick with it, but it's good. These days, you can learn everything. So just keep building stuff. Now, as far as fetch goes, are you familiar with promises? Because it's one thing to actually do the fetch request, but then you actually want to do something with the data that comes back from it, right? Like maybe I want to print to the console what that data is. So Render, how are you with promises? Because I know promises are not a unique JavaScript concept. Yeah, so if we take an example here, we on our website ask YouTube how many views that video has. We can get that information. This is sort of a yes and no question. Because for security issues, let's see. When you instantiate a fetch request, it's going to go and ask the server, hey, am I allowed to actually access this information? And it depends on which server it is. Now, if I make a fetch request on what's called the same domain, meaning if I'm on this website, right, and I make an HTTP request to the same website from that domain, I'm on that website. Technically, the console in here is still running on that URL. That's considered a same site request. If you own YouTube and you are from Google, there's a number of things to peel back there. So first, if you're on different domains, it matters if the domain that you're requesting allows responses or requests from outside domains. So that's called like CORS or cross-origin resource sharing. If the domain that you're requesting information from is like, yeah, it's cool. I don't care if you're coming from website A or website B, right? If that website says, yeah, we're cool, doors open, or even if they give you like an authentication sort of token and say, yeah, you're cool, or that person's not. That's the first sort of gate you have to get through. Once you get through CORS, then the website still has to provide some sort of URL for you to request that information on. Now you could, let's see, so right now from here, right, I made a request to this JSON endpoint. And so I get JSON back. But if I go the other way around and I say, let's see how this works, right? We're gonna say, hey, browser, fetch. I want to go fetch this API, or I want to go fetch this endpoint. And we can see, okay, it looks like they allow requests from any URL, which probably makes sense because it's HTML, so it's just going to respond with HTML. So the response here, this is the actual data that they send back. It's just a bunch of HTML. I can hit this preview tab, and it's going to show me a preview of what that response looks like, which looks a lot like this GET request. Although in my case, the response is in dark mode because my computer prefers dark mode. But in the preview panel, that information isn't transferred to the website, so it doesn't know, like, it's not rendered in dark mode. All this to say that even if Google, who owns YouTube, wanted to request the data from YouTube, they would either have to support some API that says, hey, you want to know how many views have been on this video? You have maybe two options. There's an API that I can request if it exists. Otherwise, let's see. I bet YouTube is going to shut me down here. So let's go here. Let's see. Oh, look at that. We're live. Maybe I should try and get some data. Let's see. What can I get? One person is watching now. So let's see if I can get this information, right? So I'm going to say, hey, let's from this website, where's my console? From this website, let's make a fetch request to YouTube. And see, right away, they're just going to be like, yeah, nah, dog, you're not going to get past CORS. So you're not even going to make that. They're not opening that information up. Even if I did, though, working with HTML as a response. So where is it? Network. Here's the one that we did. I could maybe get an HTML response, and then I could say, all right, well, this is what the actual data looks like. So once I get this response, I'd have to go and like find the exact string of data that says, you know, whatever I'm looking for. Like, what is this? I'd have to get this information. I'd have to so I'd have to like come here and say, where is it? So one watching now. So we have, here we go. This is it. I'd have to find a span with a class name of view count that maybe looks like this. And like grab this string and then parse out, like remove, you know, I don't know if that makes sense, but that's kind of how you could do it. And that's where website scrapers come in. The only other option is like YouTube API. YouTube should have an API. So doesn't look like they have a... let's see. Add YouTube functionality, search for content, APIs explorers. Okay. Caption. Okay, let's see. Playlist. Can I see lists? Is there a way? How do I get a list? Yeah, usually play. I think you'd have to do something that. Try this method. Call this method on live data and see the results. Okay. Channel ID. Let's see if we can get this, huh? All right, let's go YouTube. Let's go to my channel. Let's see. Let's see if we can figure this out. Channel ID, maybe that. You have invalid or missing required parameters. I don't know what this is. I don't know the YouTube API at all, so probably not a good example. But it looks like YouTube does provide an API that would then, you probably wouldn't try and get like YouTube URL like we showed you, but they might have an endpoint that's like, I don't know, look like google.com/API/YouTube/v3/ get my video count, right? And then you provide some video ID. And then that, as long as you're verified and they let you in, then yeah, they might respond with something like JSON that looks more like this, that you could then work with possibly a little bit easier. That was a lot of talking at you. I hope that made sense. If you want me to elaborate on any of it, let me know. But you also had a question of like, what is fetch and why are we making a library that improves on fetch? Okay, cool. Let's talk through this really quick, right? Just like what I've been building for those of you that, because I only have a couple minutes before I'm going to take off, but oh shoot. No, I need to go right now. I have a doctor's appointment. No, that's tomorrow. Oh man, heartbeat. Ooh. I'm good. We're good. But I am going to take off soon. But the things that fetch does, right? So fetch is based on promises. I think render, you said you don't know what a promise is? Never heard of promises. Okay. So in boy, this is going to be kind of hard to explain, but I'm just going to have to jump over some pieces of knowledge here. One of the top level APIs that we have in JavaScript is called set timeout. And what set timeout does is it allows you to provide a function. So I'm going to do this kind of the long way. So we're going to say we have a function, and in that function definition, I'm going to do something like console log render is a homie. That's how you spell homie, right? Yeah. Right. Actually, let's even take this a step back. Stop. So I'm going to define a function that's called what up render. Okay. That's the definition of the function. And then I'm going to actually execute it. Oops, I didn't execute it. Hold on. Let's pull this up. Let's get this big. Let's get this out of the way. Okay, I'm going to actually execute it. So what up render, we're going to execute it. And then that's going to call the function. And in the function, we had that console log that's just going to log to the console, renders a homie, right? Now we have this other concept in JavaScript, or this other API called set interval. And what set interval can do is you can give it a function. So notice that I'm not going to execute it. So I'm not going to put these parentheses. I'm just going to pass a reference to the function by name. And then we can also pass an amount of milliseconds that we want to wait before the interval calls that function. So if I pass 0 milliseconds, executes right away, says render is a homie. Oh shoot, I did an interval. Hold on. Oh crap, that's not good. That is not good. That's gonna blow up my computer. So let's redefine that. And I actually want to set a timeout, similar to an interval. Whatever I just said about an interval, just apply it to timeout. It's going to allow me to pass a certain amount of time that I want to wait, and then it's going to call the function that I'm trying to reference. I'm passing 0 milliseconds, so it calls it right away. Now, if I call it with like 1,000 milliseconds, it's going to wait a second, and then it's going to execute it. Cool? Okay. The only reason the reason why we're talking about that is because now we need to cover call, I don't know, async thing. Now I'm going to define a new function that's going to take a callback, and then we're going to call that set timeout. It's going to execute the function that you pass to it, and it's going to wait like 500 milliseconds, right? Okay, we're actually going to make this, let's see, wait 500, then call. Okay, so now this maybe makes a little more sense. Like Cortine. I have no idea what Cortine is, but we're going to define a function that says wait 500, then call, and then it's going to expect a function to call. And inside of it, we're going to do a timeout for 500 milliseconds. And after that 500 milliseconds, it's going to call whatever function or execute whatever function you pass in to the original function. So now we have that defined. And then we're going to say wait 500, then call. And I'm going to pass in a function, anonymous function that's just going to say console log hurry up, right? That's my function. This function here, or even we can say like what up render. We can do the one that we've already referenced. So it's going to wait 500 milliseconds and then call what up render. Cool. Now the problem is what happens when you have a lot of these asynchronous calls. Coroutine, okay, is a function that can suspend execution to be resumed later. Sure, that's again something that now you sound is way advanced for me. Like I have no idea what a coroutine is, but it sounds like, yeah, it makes sense. So now the question is, what happens if I want to do like, I want to wait like 250 milliseconds. Yes, I could do another timeout, but let's say I just have a bunch of asynchronous things that wait on each other, right? So now we have wait 500 milliseconds. Then we want to pass a function that waits another 500 milliseconds. Actually, I'm going to make this look a little bit more like what it used to back in the day. Function. Oops. This is going to call wait 500, then call. And that's going to call a function. And then that's going to wait 500 and then call a function. And that's, sure, why not? We'll do another, we'll do it. No, what happened? Wait 500, then call. You know, I'm going to make my life a little bit easier and just copy, paste, and then paste, 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 right? And this is what JavaScript developers call callback hell. Whoop, 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 whoop. Yeah. There we go. So you get into a situation where this last one is gonna wait that 500 and then say what up render, right? That's my last thing. Wait 500, then call. Cool. Then we've got close that one off, and then we got to close that one off, and we've got to close that one off, and then we got to. I don't know why I did this to myself. Okay, got that right. That should wait 1, 2, 3.5 seconds, and then call what up render, or render as a homie. There you go. Performance is going to take a hit. Yeah, well, the thing is, all of this happens asynchronously. JavaScript is a single-threaded process, or a single-threaded process that when it experiences these asynchronous things, it has to do with a call stack. It's a whole bunch of stuff. That does get really advanced. I'm not going to get into it. But it allows for other things. It allows for the main thread to not be blocked by all of this stuff going on. And what can I do? I can show an example of that by saying I want to execute this same thing, and then right after I instantiate it, I'm going to say console log whatever, jump the queue, right? And we can see that right away jump the queue was called because it didn't have to wait for all of these to go. And then eventually render as a homie is called. That's the asynchronous nature of JavaScript. That's one way to do asynchronicity, is using callbacks. Now, that callback hell is really annoying, and it's really hard to logic about with all of those nested things. So what we have instead is promises. And promises, again, are not a JavaScript specific thing, but they have been introduced to the language in the last 5 years or so. And what a promise allows you to do is still have that asynchronous nature, but instead of having to provide some sort of callback, that event that like gets nested and nested and nested, you can actually get an object back right away. So I'm just going to show you kind of what it looks like. Promise.resolve, I don't know, with the number 6. What this does is it allows me to have access to an object right away. So it may take a while for that promise to, or for that sort of logic, think of like that set timeout. It may take a while for that to actually resolve. JS is not a compiled language. I don't think so. I don't know. That's over my head. That's going to be that computer science, lack of my computer science knowledge. I don't think it's a compiled language though. And so what a promise does is, instead of having to work in that callback hell sort of paradigm, you actually get an object back right away. So I can say const p equals, I'm just going to say a new promise. Don't worry about this syntax. I think that's right. And I can check what p is here. This variable p. This variable p has been assigned to this promise, and I can see that it's a promise that has a couple of states. It tells me what type it is. It tells me the state of it, that it's fulfilled, and it tells me what it resolved to. It's number 4. So once I have a promise object, I can do something like p.then. Then is a method on it interpreted. Yes. Okay. Cool. Yes, that sounds right. So once I have a promise object, I have access to this .then method. So instead of waiting on callbacks, we have this like .then thing. So I can say .then. We're gonna do console log whatever the value is, because P was a promise that resolved to the number 4. That number 4 is passed to this. You can kind of think of it as a callback function, but it's the function that it's like the function that is given the resolved value. So I'm logging the resolved value from that promise. Hope that makes sense. The reason why I want to bring that up is because then we can do something like, what was it? I want a function that instead of taking a callback, I'm going to do a function that's called wait 100, then resolve, or something like that. It's going to be something that takes... What do I want it to resolve to? I don't even know how to come up with a good example of this. I don't know if I have a good example of this. I'm just gonna say there's maybe some reading that you should probably do on just promises, right? Like the language that you're familiar with may support promises, or they're just like a programming construct that you could become familiar with. But the reason why I went down that giant rabbit hole is that fetch requests, the fetch API, it's an API that allows you to do HTTP requests, and it returns a promise to you. So when I fetch, what's a good one? When I do a fetch request to an HTTP endpoint, I can use this .then method, and I'm going to get the response object, and I can do something with that response object. So I can console log response, and then we can see what we get here. We get that promise from the fetch. And then once it resolves, we get this response object, and we pass that response object to the console log, right? Then I can see the readable stream from the body. I can see the information in the headers, the status, stuff like that. And the problem I have with this is there's a lot of times that you need to do other things with a fetch request. So for example, things that we have supported are being able to pass a timeout. So I'm going to switch to my terminal where I'm running Node, very similar to the browser, technically technically different of a JavaScript environment, but for all intents and purposes, what we're looking at, they're the same. All the same APIs that we're using are implemented. And what I can do is I can do something like, hey, I want to go, I made this library similar to fetch, implements fetch under the hood, adds a little bit of logic or functionality on top of fetch. Yes, Node.js, it's a server-side JavaScript environment. So it can run on in my terminal, for example. So I can make this fetch request. We can just consider it like this. The equivalent of this fetch request would be, I would say, const request equals fetch using the underlying API. And I would have to pass in this URL /posts. Then I'd have to pass in this object that says the method is post. The body is JSON.stringify. Pass in this object, which is A of 1, to correspond with this JSON I'm trying to send. And then I'd have to pass in headers, where I define that the content type is application JSON. And every time I want to use the fetch request to do something similar to sending a post request that sends JSON, I'd have to remember to keep all of these or write all of these values instead of just doing this. So I have a library that I instantiate once, and then I can use it to make a bunch of post requests. In this case, we are also doing things like sending the mode and includes, so we also have to include those here. And if we want to do any sort of like modify requests, like add HTTP headers or something, or like modify the headers, like say, I don't know, init.headers.authorization equals bearer and then token 123, something like that. Doing that on a single request isn't a big pain in the butt, but this would allow me to, let's see, do like 2 requests. Let's do a get and a post, right? Get something like that. Then this headers would have to go here. Okay, and then if I wanted to essentially compare these 2 requests to these 2 requests, this we can omit. There's not going to be a body on a GET request. Headers, headers. I think I'd still need to pass that, and maybe pass all of this. So that's what the library does. Well, that's one of the things it does. It also supports things like being able to pass a timeout. So say, hey, if I have a request that's going to take 500 milliseconds before it resolves, and I want to say, in the event that it takes longer, I could say set a timeout on 500 milliseconds. And if it takes longer than that, we'll throw an error and like cancel the request. It also supports things like just being able to explicitly cancel or programmatically cancel the request, like doing, let me cancel all this stuff. Actually, we'll leave that in. But we'll just compare one. Request 1 to request 2, right? I can do request request.abort to just like cancel that request. If I wanted to do request 2 here, I'd have to do const, I don't know, abort signal equals new abort. Oh, that's not abort signal. It's abort controller. New abort controller. And then we'd have to pass fetch. And then we'd do like signal is abort controller dot signal, right? And then we'd have to do ac dot abort. So don't need to do any of that. Kind of a lot there. And then if we wanted to do retries, lazy about, it's just too much for me to really mention. So is this built into JS? No, what I'm saying is, so fetch is built into, again, technically not JS. Fetch is a top level API that is provided by the JavaScript runtime. So you have JavaScript, the programming language, and then you have the runtime environment. And the programming language has all of the logic you need to create a program, but to interact with some of the underlying runtime, like system or whatever, making HTTP requests, for example, not built into JavaScript, the programming language. It is provided by the JavaScript runtime. In the browser is one JavaScript runtime. Node.js is another JavaScript runtime. They both happen to implement fetch, even though that's not part of the language. That is just part of the runtime. Okay, cool. Glad that makes sense. So what I've got here is creating my own library built on top of fetch. So I basically provide a custom function, or define a custom function, provide a URL signature, or provide a function signature that looks very much like fetch, but behaves slightly different, does all of the things that I'm kind of saying is annoying to have to do every time, and provides it to you. But at the end of the day, it actually uses, there you go, the fetch API. This fetch, part of the platform in which this JavaScript is going to run. Now that depends that this runs inside of a runtime that provides fetch. Otherwise, this is going to be undefined. But most of the big ones, the browser, Node, Dino, a bunch of the new ones, they all have fetch built in. So you don't really have, I don't have to worry about that. All right. That was a lot to explain. All this to say that I do this because I use fetch a lot, but I want something that's actually easier to work with. Supports timeouts, supports retries, supports lazy evaluation, which probably doesn't make sense, but I'm not going to explain. Makes it easier to do the different types of requests. So instead of having to explicitly say something like the method is post or delete or patch or put, I can just do, hey, I want to do a GET request, or I want to do a post request, or I want to do a put request. Doesn't save too many keystrokes, but kind of nice. All right, let's cancel that. Let's get rid of all this. Let's get that request. And yeah, I'm going to call it a day. So thanks for hanging out. Render, really appreciate all the chatting. Actually, I prefer, I mean, not to call anyone else out that's just like lurking, but I do really enjoy when people are like interacting and asking questions. I like answering questions. Okay, so we're going to, what did we add today? Let's see. We added, I'm not even going to explicitly say what we added. It's like, whatever. Added new features. Woo! No, we're going to say added the nugs cam. Because that's what I really did today. This work right here. There? Is it showing? There it is. Woo! Feels like that needs to be bigger. I'm going to make that a little bit bigger. That's so cool. Maybe that a little bigger. Maybe. That's pretty good. Stout fella. So stout. So stout of you to join right as I'm getting to the end of the stream. But I don't know if maybe you've been around and just decided at the end here to follow. So I appreciate it. But yeah, that's going to be it. I'm taking off. And yeah, I'm going to go ahead and jump on a raid. I'm going to be raiding Purple Elf. Purple Elf. And wait, Render, I thought you already followed. Did you just wait until now to follow? Well, thank you so much. That's right. That's right. I did have to win you over there, huh? It was the Nugget Cam that I think did it. So thanks again. Thanks everyone. Really enjoyed it. I'm probably going to call this one done. Like, I'm happy with where it's at. I don't necessarily need the upload and download progress. Maybe I'll get to there eventually, but this is cool. This is going to be live on GitHub for anyone that's doing JavaScript and wants to like copy and paste it. I'm probably not going to publish it to NPM, but you know, maybe eventually. Yeah, let me push this up. Add the Nugs Cam, push that up. Let me, wait, is that not published? That should be published. Let's see. GitHub. GitHub.com/Austin Gill / what do I call it? Totes? Yeah. There you go. 26 seconds ago. All right. It's up. It's live. Feel free. I'll throw that in the chat for anyone that wants to take a look at the source code. Oops. There you go. In the chat. And now we're going to go ahead and raid Purple Elf. Thanks, y'all. I will catch you next week, next Wednesday, around 1 p.m. Pacific Standard. And we're going to do some cool stuff next week. So hope to see you there. All right, let's close that down. Let's hit this raid. Woo 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 woo.